Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. Welcome to a special CES edition of the CMO Whisper. We're recording from the middle of the noise, the demos, the buzzwords, and the bold promises that define CES every year. And today, I'm sitting down with someone who's not just watching transformation happen, but has spent her career driving it. I'm joined by Jackie Corbelli, founder and CEO of BrightLine, a pioneer in interactive and engagement-led CTV advertising, and one of the earliest female founders in ad tech. Jackie has helped turn television from a passive screen into a two-way experience for Fortune 100 brands and the world's biggest streaming platform. That's not all. She's also the author of Changemaker, a new book that distills the leadership frameworks behind scaling innovation, leading through complexity, and building organizations that actually move the needle. What a novel concept. And in her work advising the UN and the Vatican, yes, I said the Vatican, on sustainability and technology, and you get someone with a rare systems level view of where marketing, leadership, and responsibility are heading. Wow. Let's get into this. Jackie Corbelli, my new fellow.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you.
It's
very excited about this.
It's amazing. You can't see our view, but our view of the Vegas Strip and the Sphere is, just close your eyes and pretend you're here. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just jump. I'm going to start with CES first.
Okay.
Okay. And like what actually matters coming out of this week.
Okay.
Right. Now, when you walk the floor, by the way, we're recording this on, what is this, the second day?
Yeah.
I don't even know what day it is.
It's actually the first official day.
First official day.
Yeah.
So when you walk the floor this year, what are you looking for? Like real signal versus recycled hype?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you.
Please.
I don't really walk the floor that much.
Okay.
And what I love walking the floor, but it's hard to get there. You're the CMO whisperer, so something you must know is that the advertising industry and the advertising community, which has obvious ties to consumer electronics, right, has grown and grown and grown its presence here at CES and migrated over to a certain area of the convention. So we're subsumed in the ethos of advertising, mostly at the ARIA, C-Space, and all of that. And so I spend most of my time here. But to answer your question, I love cars. So cars, robotics, and I've been coming for like 15 years, right? But the big question you asked is what happens after CES?
Yeah.
I mean, keeping all the advertising part out of it for a minute, because you could argue a lot of things there. I don't think much comes out of CES. I mean, nothing, what I mean by that is what concrete, tangible things can we point to that come out of CES? Yeah. Can you say that about any real convention, really?
You said it.
Yeah.
I'm nodding my head.
Okay, good. All right.
That I agree with you.
And I'm sure there's people listening that are going to say, "No, that's like total, that's not true."
Yeah.
Great. Then that's value I'd love to hear about.
Count me in. So let's pivot to like a CMO's perspective. Because the CMO whisperer. Right?
Yes.
So from a CMO's perspective,
are
there technologies? What do you think they should be looking for if you're talking to a CMO? And not even just CES, just in general.
Yeah. Well, it's both, actually. They're here, and wherever they are. I've had the great privilege of working with amazing CMOs. I think I might have mentioned in one of our previous conversations that I worked with major corporations in creating executional blueprints on strategy. And obviously, the marketing piece of that is huge, and bringing it all into concert with the front end and consumer and the back end and operations and so on. Everybody knows what the hottest thing is right now to not just know about, but to really try and understand the value of, and that's AI, right? So whether you're here at the ARIA and people are talking about their agentic solutions, right, for programmatic advertising, or you're over on the floor looking at, this year's version of robotics and how RAG and agentics are coming together. It is like this is like the web was, right? Like it's coming in fast and furious. The difference is just how fast it's coming in, and really trying to comprehend, get your head around where the value lies for you. And I think that's going to come from two places. It's going to come from how it supports you in being more efficient, seamless, and most importantly, effective in every function that surrounds the CMO's role. Every function.
Yeah.
And you'll be bringing in the McKinseys of the world, just like, every other phase and stage of restructuring or redesign that you have to do, business redesign. But I would actually have a suggestion, which is, people talk about AI literacy a lot now. I would suggest trying to ground yourself a little bit before you bring the McKinseys in. As a former consultant, we all know this, right? CMOs are smart people, and you're the CMO whisperer, and so you know this too, which is consultants are really good at keeping themselves in business. And so what I would say is it will go a long way if you can develop a little bit of AI literacy before you bring in the consultants. Have some ideas, right? Be inductive. Don't put yourself in a position where they're going to lay out the world, like you're going to boil the ocean, and then it's going to take X amount of time to figure out exactly where you should be focused right now, and so on, because it's moving so fast. It's a waste of money, and it always has been, but more important right now from the standpoint of competitiveness and really sort of winning as a CMO.
Yeah.
It's just happening too fast.
I liken it to, if you remember when social media came into vogue.
Yep.
And everybody and their mother, brother, mailman, sisters-in-law, brother, were social media experts.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can solve all your problems, and we know everything about social media.
Yeah.
This is that on steroids times 5,000. Like AI is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say there's nefarious people out there, but there are nefarious people out there.
Yeah.
That will take advantage. Are taking advantage. And the CMOs I talk to, they say some of what you're saying about, I know I need to get educated on my own first before talking to XYZ. The problem is, and we're not going to boil this ocean here unless I want to hear your thoughts. The problem is, how do I know from all the noise?
I think there's a way.
Okay.
It's called AI. So here's the interesting thing about the moment we're in. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about the moment we're in, but related to what you're describing. AI is going to tell you, if you're a CMO and you go on to any one of the chatbots, right? And by the way, if any one of them says they're the best, they're not. It's a total arms race out there. And I can't remember who just did the study, but ChatGPT didn't come out number one on any aspect of any type of search on with the chatbots. And that's because they're all moving, at the rate they can, and the compute out there is whatever it's allowing and to how fast they can evolve. Anyway, you go on a chatbot and you say, what are the top 5 things that a global CMO should be reflecting on as they think about how to take the best advantage of AI in the next 12 months? Like, the more specific you can be with these prompts, the better, obviously.
Right.
When you say, where do I start? That's where you start.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah. I said that in so many words as well. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know anything, so you're the expert, and I'm being facetious. You come on.
No, I actually know a little bit about AI, which is really fun.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. All right, let me just pivot here. Are CMOs underestimating how fast consumer expectations are shifting?
I don't know if they are or not. Does it vary? I mean, I don't talk to too many CMOs these days.
Yeah.
Probably. I would say that you mentioned social media and some parallels there. I agree with that. If you don't mind, I want to pivot a tiny bit from where we are right now, because I think it relates back to your question. First of all, a major difference is that AI is a means by which you do things better, period. You can do things better and faster. You can jump the shark, so to speak, in ways you couldn't before, workflow-wise, right? So I see the technology, and I believe that the most value we'll see from AI will be that. How fast can a company in any industry move to take advantage of the workflow efficiency and improvements that come from AI? Okay, going back to behavior. It's going to be behavior that drives how fast what I just said happens. But in terms of consumer behavior, which is, I think, your earlier question, I think so. Because I'm watching, I mean, you never should over extract from your own, life experience. But you don't have to go far to see how much it's already become an integral part of the way you go through your day. Like people are constantly on it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I will tell you that I think yes, they're probably underestimating it. Here's the upshot though. In television, maybe not. And I say that because my company, BrightLine, we started it over 15 years ago. And it took a pandemic as a catalyst for streaming to take off in the living room. There's no one that doesn't stream in their living room now. But if you look before the pandemic, it was Netflix, Amazon.
Yeah.
Now you're streaming everything. You're streaming Peacock, you're streaming Paramount Plus, you're streaming it all, right? Okay. The reason I use it as an example is TV is a different animal. They move at a snail's pace. So in terms of behavior, a viewer will only be able to change its behavior as quickly as the medium evolves from the standpoint of how they feed that behavior. And I can use a very specific example. We've been in interactive television advertising, I feel like, since the beginning of time. Okay, the programmer, which is now the streamer, the studio, the content guys, right, are basically turning television, the streaming television experience, into a modern day version of cable. Okay, as viewer, we're still watching disruptive ads. Now think about that for a minute. We're still watching disruptive ads. Why? Because that's what a Nielsen, who we still rely on, think about that too, a survey company in this digital age with everything that's going on. And we're still investing the vast majority of our advertising dollars in the television environment in a 30-second spot. And that's partly because we know how to do it, but it's also because that's what you're being offered in the streaming world. What does that mean? It don't change very quickly. So many people thought the upfronts were going to be gone 20 years ago. I remember David Verklin saying, we don't need an upfront anymore. And he's a friend, so I don't feel like I'm talking out of turn here. But, we all revel in the fact that it's like, it never felt like it made enough sense to do that year after year after year, but it's still here.
Here we are.
So from the standpoint of these, driving factors to the way behavior with a television viewer experience are concerned, they may not be. I will tell you, though, that it's going to get very interesting this year when it comes to watching that behavior change. You look at what Netflix is doing, they're one of their strategic priorities is gaming.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. BrightLine, my company, we just made over our entire platform to become agentic, to create experiences that nobody has to actually create individually. They come to you because it's agentic and you decide whether it fits. Okay, when you combine things like the opportunity to do interactive gaming on a television set versus a gaming console or on your laptop or desktop, that's big. That's a big behavioral change. Like up till now, you can't game on your television, really. This year, you will be able to game on your television, and it's a first. And I wouldn't say it's revolutionary because it shouldn't be, but it is a first. And so that behavior, I would watch out for that as a CMO. Watch out for that because that is going to be one of the first things that changes. Last year it was shoppability, right? Shoppability was a big so-called behavioral change. Is it though?
I was going to say, did we see that come to fruition?
I don't think we. Well,
No.
I don't think so. I don't have the evidence.
Not on the scale.
Right. Exactly. It didn't change that quickly, right? But I will say that shoppability has been out there a long time, and it's, so to think the behavior is going to change overnight just because it's available, right?
Yeah. No. You're
Okay.
right.
But gaming is massive. Gaming is massive. Like we're testing it with, and on television it'll take a different form because you want them lighter, simpler, something you do when nothing's on that you want to watch, that kind of thing. But I do think that's going to be an interesting one. The hypothesis would be that's an interesting one where we might see some new behaviors and they might be faster than we thought.
Okay, so let's stay on that track for a second in terms of, so that's one thing you see coming in 26. Anything else that CMOs should be aware of?
I mean, it's the agentic stuff, really. And what I mean by agentic, I'm going to be very specific because the term is being thrown around so loosely. I mean, agentic is the easiest way to think about it, right? Is it's just a sort of a hyper capacity to automate, micro tasks, and to do it with a type of intelligence that needed to be guided by a human, and that's not necessary either, right? So for our business, it's sort of to say, okay, you've got to design what you want that interactive experience to look like. Then you've got to create some mocks. Then the advertiser has to tell you whether it's good enough and how they want it to refine it. Then you have to iterate it. Then you have to actually create it in the format that can be delivered to each of those apps. Then you have to decide whether you're going to change content. What are the things that are going to happen? Then it has to render. Then it has to, right? All these things are separate, and they are all different with every single app. So when we go to agentic and you don't have to do anything anymore, that's huge, right? That's huge.
That's a one-stop shop.
That's a one-stop shop, and it's not just us. That's what the behavior is going to change based on how low-value activities are being sucked right out of that dialogue between a CMO and a buyer, and the service and the vendor.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's potentially.
No, it is. Yeah.
I mean, between that and the gaming, those two alone.
Right. I would love to talk next year to see if where we are.
Well, let's make a date right now.
Yeah, I think we should.
CES.
Yep. Right here, this table and this.
This table. Okay. What else? I'll wear the same. Everybody wears the same.
Yeah, everybody has to wear the same thing. Take pictures.
Tell us about your book.
Oh man, when people ask me to tell you about the book, it's hard to know where to begin. So I'm gonna start at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that.
At the end, which is when I reflect back on everything I've had the great honor and privilege and have been lucky to do, and it's pretty multifaceted. There was a playbook. It was the same playbook, and I was able to refine my own ability to do the things that I turned out to be good at because I was able to keep refining that playbook. And so the book is actually that playbook. I did it because a friend told me, you got to write a book. But I did it because I remember being early in my career and saying, God, I was restructuring banks, and it was a very, very specific approach, and it wasn't cutting costs. It was creating new products and businesses, and it was, creating these very detailed execution plans and then overseeing it for a year and whatever. Who does that, right? Those are very special, in strange circumstances. But what it does is it actually gives you a way of looking at things and applying a certain mentality that, that makes you feel like you could apply it you could do it anywhere. And that's what happened. So I was in financial services, used the playbook there. I'm not going to get in any more detail unless you tell me to, because there's a lot of detail in all these areas. So there's the finance piece. Then there's the TV and media piece. Then there's the technology and AI piece. There's African development. There's sustainability, right? The book is there because early on I thought, if I had only had a playbook, I can only imagine what more could have been accomplished for the folks that were impacted. So that's why I wrote the book.
So this is legacy.
It's
This is legacy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a kind of way to say, if I can help somebody else, then
Your humility is preventing you from agreeing with me, but I'll say it for you. This is legacy. This is long after you're gone. People are reading this book now.
Or it's the Italian Catholic guilt thing that says I would feel guilty if I didn't leave these breadcrumbs behind.
You mean when you get to the pearly gates and St. Anthony says, how come you didn't write a book?
Exactly.
Well, I did.
Yeah, St. Peter's there. I don't know, man. You really missed that boat.
Who should read it? Who's it for?
I think CMOs are going to love it.
Why?
My chance of observing the CMO function came through that financial services period. And it's not easy. I think that function is very hard. I think you're sort of the person who has to say the buck stops here. In a way, it's like, okay, strategy, you're this. Okay, product, this is here. Okay, brand, this is here. Operations, you're handling that. I'm the one, right, that has to translate that into what drives your business. Okay. This book revolves around sort of saying, think of any challenge/opportunity that's out there for you. Eliminate all of the things that could limit you. Take out a clean sheet of paper and say, what would it ideally be? Okay. This playbook shows many examples of doing that, of actually doing that, getting out the clean sheet of paper, thinking about how it should actually work, looking at the way it does work, and creating the path to the ideal and the optimizing. And I think that's, I think CMOs in particular are probably frustrated by the lack of opportunity to really do that. There's just so many requirements.
Oh, I can speak to that.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, because I've never been one, but I just observed it. It's like, wow. That's a hard job.
You were spot
And the constant pressure, by the way, right, from the top, and the other areas of the company. I mean, I watch in the financial services industry that people saying, you're overhead. Like marketing is overhead. Really? Really? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't get Steve fired up because I'll just go off on a tangent, but you have no idea how right you are.
Okay.
When a CFO and a CEO has no idea.
And they want to just start with cut marketing and advertising. What?
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
Okay. All right. Preaching to the choir.
So in the book, you talk about leading through change, not just managing it. What's the difference?
That's right. I mean, I think you just, it's easy to be in an environment like that and just feel this, and it happens all the time, even with people, our clients. It's sort of, you have your KPIs. Those are the things you have to win at. A lot of reasons not to act in ways that are going to have big impact next year in the ways you want to define your role as CMO, right? Your leadership, what your imprimatur, that's what that means. It means you can still lead in the official capacity that you're in, achieve what management, executive management decides is important for you to deliver. And know that as a CMO, other things are critical to what you're delivering in terms of value also.
Yeah.
And I think where the value of the book is in that respect is sort of like, you don't have to park what you know is important just to hit your KPIs. You can actually do both. And if you read the book, it creates that space. It shows you basically how to create that space, to give yourself that space. It doesn't take and it doesn't mean you have to like divorce yourself or like have that monopolize your time. It teaches you how to be constantly doing it in one part of your brain while you're driving everything you need to do for the company.
Because we all know we have to multitask, and that's not even up for discussion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think this actually feeds me creatively too. It feeds the creative process to do what I'm describing. It helps me be a better executive in the day-to-day to know that I'm doing this other piece because it feeds me and it feeds my idea of success. You see what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
What leadership traits, if you will, do you think CMOs and leaders they need that they're not getting from a business school?
Oof. I think business school is not very good at teaching day-to-day leadership. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's very intellectual. And most books are just very intellectual. Like, when you get into the environment and your butt is the one that's on the line, defining leadership in that context is way different than anything I learned in business school, right? Like, how do you make those choices? When do you dig in? When do you confront perspectives that don't align with your own and persist? To me, those are the parts of leadership that don't get taught, in an operative way, right? In business school. And that has to do with basically building your own identity as a leader, right? Like, who am I going to be in these situations? Who do I want to be in these situations? And business school doesn't teach you that.
I'm going to go on a limb and say you're going to agree with what I'm about to say. In my career, I've learned as much from the not great leaders as I have from the great leaders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt.
It's baptism by fire.
It is.
You have to, when I look back at some of the leaders, my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example of that without naming any names, but in these big bank restructurings that we did, my very first experience, at the end of them, what you find, imagine that, is you're able to increase revenue, cut costs, and when you're implementing over a certain time frame, roles change. Like, roles change, which means people need to change, which means people impact is huge. Okay, so at the end of the first one of these that I did, when I saw the way decisions were being made on who to keep and who to let go, I mean, it made me sick inside. It makes you sick, right? Like, you're letting people be treated like this, and the only thing you want to know is whether your lawyers thinks it's okay. So one of the things that I did immediately, and I felt shitty. I said, I felt terrible.
You felt dirty, yeah.
And yes. And so I said, I can't do another one of these unless we change that. And we did. We changed it completely. And I can tell you exactly how we changed it. If any of you people out there listening would like to know, you let me know and I'll tell you exactly how to change that. But all of these things are doable if you decide what you want that outcome, what that outcome should look like, and figure out how you're going to get that outcome, rather than just following, day to day, fighting the good fight, getting to what your managers want you to get to without keeping that in mind. And I learned that from a bad example, right? Like, that was a terrible experience. Bad example set by the leader.
But it taught you.
Taught me. It was so instrumental.
What not to do.
Viscerally, so deep. And it never left me.
It's very often overlooked about, when you work with somebody, like, oh, that person was so, you and I could quote chapter and verse about how many bad people we work for.
Yeah.
But in a way, we owe them as well. It sounds odd.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Because you don't know that some of those things actually get a little ingrained in you, like unconsciously. I mean, until somebody checks you back on them, you're like, holy man, did I just do that? Was that me? Like, oh man, thank you for telling me, I mean, some people have trouble hearing it, and then, you have to decide whether you're going to be one of those people who takes it on and change, or say, you know what, I am who I am. This is my style. It works for me. But I'm the former, and I don't judge others.
One last question. And by the way, we'll do a part 2 for sure, because you're amazing. You're a great introvert.
I told you I love doing this.
You do. You're very natural.
I love it.
You're very natural. These 2 words have come up quite a bit over the past year from C-levels and CMOs specifically, and they are imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
not just for CMOs, by the way.
Oh no, that's like a tagline, right?
Yeah.
And I talk to college kids all the time, for example, and I'll say that, believe it or not, guys, just because you get to a certain level doesn't mean you're like, I'm good. I don't have any problems. I know I have talked more CMOs off ledges from imposter syndrome than I can count. Yeah. And these people who are like managing multi-billion-dollar businesses and brands and lines of business and wake up one day and go, I don't really know what I'm doing. Because you do it so well. And it gets just taken for granted.
It's who you are.
So if let's do a quick word association. If I say imposter syndrome, what comes to mind?
Everyone.
Including yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's human.
Exactly.
I mean, part of where we get is timing. And to the extent that it's timing and you made the right decision, right? That sticks with you too.
Yep.
Right? So was I really that good? Or was it just that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think it's human. And actually, I think it's healthy because we should maintain a little bit of humility about how we got there. Do you know? I do think that we need to stay conscious of it because it becomes very unhealthy. If we know it's there, we allow it to fester and not own who we are and step into our own light and all those, those things we hear about. But that's what it comes to me. Like anyone can feel that.
And that's what I preach to people. Anyone. When I've interviewed world.
Maybe anyone is better than everyone. Everyone I come into contact with, like the President of the United States, we're not talking about people right now.
No, I know. The office. I know.
Right. Imposter syndrome. JFK had an imposter syndrome.
I've interviewed Oscar winners.
Yes.
NBA champions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating topic. Listen, I would love to keep talking, and we will.
Okay.
But
that sounds cool.
We're booked for a year from today to see how your predictions did.
Okay.
You're going to hold me to that.
Yeah.
Audience, hold me to this.
Okay.
But in the meantime, tell us one last time the name of the book and where can we find it?
The name of the book is Changemaker, a modern playbook for personal impact and transformational change. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it on Amazon. It's at a lot of independent stores as well. And I would love to hear from anyone who does get the book, whether they feel that it is translating for them, whether it feels like a source of empowerment and a reference point, right, for where they want to go. Because maybe I'll even put out an addendum. I don't know. You know what I mean?
And I don't want to speak for you, but you want the honest feedback.
I only want the honest feedback. Yes.
That's what I tell people. Don't tell me what I need to hear. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear.
And what's important for me to hear. Yes.
Exactly. Well, Jackie Corbelli, you are an absolute treat. I can't thank you enough for your time.
I appreciate you. Thanks.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.